Welcome back. Yes, indeed, we've got Mr. Abutu Yaro joining us this morning. He's a former Assistant Inspector General of Police. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on the program today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I know you heard a thing or two about the just concluded elections that happened on Saturday in Rivers State. But before that election, the governor wasn't exactly happy with the conduct of the police. So here is part of what he said about what he thought was going on about the police. Let's have you listen to it.
We came here this morning when we heard that according to what they call themselves, Nigerian police, are coming to take over the premises of Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission. And I had to come myself to find out why would such a thing happen. From what I heard, that DC operation brought them here to withdraw policemen that are already here protecting this place, so that new officers will take over the place. But I have to say this on a very strong note. We've been taking enough nonsense from this institution. Everybody is aware of the court judgment. And even the judgment as they call it, the ruling. Did the ruling specify anywhere that election should not hold? He said, don't give voters register. What are we doing with it? Okay, police, don't provide security. Don't provide security. Is this the same thing as blocking the election? I don't know what the relationship between Inspector General of Police and one person who claims he has so much power in this state. I don't know the relationship, because it's beginning to go beyond the normal professional relationship. I said the government wrote a letter with the judgments that we have to him, and what he's acting on is what he called the federal government, the judgment he got from the Federal High Court. Even at that, if we should go by that, the judgment in the Federal High Court, did he say election should be bad? Lifu, that's that justice that gave that fraudulent judgment. Did he say no election? Rather, it technically said don't provide. We don't need your security. We will provide our own security. After it happened in Anambra, go away with your security. But this election must hold. If you like whatever it is you want to do, do it. The election result will be declared. People will be sworn in. I say it here. What kind of a country is it? And when it comes to the issue of Rivers State, it becomes different. You're not ashamed of yourself. You call yourself Inspector General of Police.
Enough is enough.
Enough is enough. I will be here. In fact, if I go back and I hear anybody, I will come here. This is my property.
Mr. Yaro, I don't know what the police would think about this if they were listening at that point in time. I know that the first PRO did respond to at least the accusation of bias, saying, listen, we're just obeying court order. But people listening to that would definitely think, what is going on with the Nigerian police concerning Rivers State? I know you used to be in that position, but of course, you still have a call or two with some of your colleagues there. Could you explain to us what could have gone wrong here?
Well, I thank you for the question. As you rightly said, presently I'm outside the system. And it will be improbable for me, who is outside the system, to have exact idea with respect to the policy idea that informed the kind of directive that the last speaker is talking about. But certainly, even if things are in the way that have just been explained, I believe that leadership communication supposed to hold sway in this kind of circumstance. Leadership communication has its own unique platform. It has its own unique lingo, and it has its own unique confidentiality. And I believe that could have taken care of the issues and concerns raised. Because why we say this is strategic communication is key, and it's a requirement for people in strategic leadership. And no matter how odd a situation may seem to be, the means of conveying the discomfort or the concern is imperative to people in strategic leadership. I'm not in position to say what really informed the decision of the police authority, but assuming that I'm in the system, I would have advised the last speaker to be more consultative in his outburst. That is my reaction to the question.
So if you were to advise the last speaker, who we see in the image as the governor now, would you have what would you have told him? What, to let's say call through to the IGP or what?
Good. That is the strategic communication I'm talking about. I would have put a call through, and I would have discussed extensively the issues at stake, and the IG would have provided its own insight into what is on the ground, and the executive governor would have as well ironed out most of the issues and concern therein. It was needless, in my view, for people in strategic level of governance to express discomfort in the way we have seen it.
So from the look of things now, because that his perspective, his submissions there, several people, notwithstanding what the police had said, that we are just obeying court order. But you will have people in the state who will now feel that the police is clearly against them, and that may consciously or unconsciously inform the decisions and their attitude and disposition towards the police, which may not be friendly moving forward, don't you think?
Well, we have to exercise some caution in this dialogue and interpreting this scenario. Why the caution is necessary is that we shouldn't create a situation that will have a kind of impact in other similar circumstances in our country in the future. We must act in circumspect in all situations, no matter how odd. And it will be very, very suicidal of us as leaders of this country when we begin to make public aspersion on our national security elements. And the police is one of the major fulcrum of national security apparatus. If the issue being discussed is not handled in circumspect, it might degenerate to elsewhere in the country, and such situation in future may present itself, and we may succeed, maybe unintentionally, in creating an incited nationhood against the national police. And I believe that at this level of our national development, it is needless. Nation building is of key essence for those of us in leadership, no matter whose ox is God. And off or internal communication is very, very, very important in management, particularly management at a higher level. Internal communication is very, very key, so that we don't create a dysfunctional society or we don't escalate our disgust with some of our national institutions.
Well, you certainly are no stranger to police having found itself in the middle sometimes when it would appear that authorities or some authorities in Abuja are, not in good terms or on good terms with the governors of their states. And we see that sometimes how this is felt in the states is through the use of the police. River State has gone through this over and over again. You saw it during the time of CP Mbu and how the governor there was constantly crying foul. And this is what we're witnessing again. I mean, I don't know whether this has ever come up for discussion within the ranks of the police, or will I say within the authorities of the police, the hierarchy of the police, and how they've been able to, say that the police must behave whenever it is they find themselves potentially in such a situation. Has there been any sort of discussion where it would appear that the police does feel like, it has found itself in a position that could put its operations in jeopardy? How have policemen been advised to behave?
Thank you. It's an evolving situation. The Umbu's era was not even the first. Let us take our mind back historically. As far back as 1962, similar situation or scenario happened in Western Nigeria during the crisis between the late premier of Western Nigeria and the leader of opposition in the federal parliament, the late SAG, the eminent chief of Afemi Awolowo, arising from 1959 election. Akintola was the premier, and Awolowo, being the leader of opposition, actually operating at the federal level in Lagos, and issues of relating to structure system, subordination, authority, and local level coordination arose. And it had a concomitant effect in the Western House of Assembly. When the House became divided, it later affected the fact that the premier formed a new political party, New Nigeria Democratic Party, NNPP, and left the action group until it cascaded into the Operation Wetier and all the national cataclysm that followed. So elements of it has been studied in the police cycle and the security system all over. We are seeing scenarios similar to that, and we have been discussing and ensuring that there's no repeat occurrence in the way and manner so described between 1962 to 1965. The important thing in all this discussion is that the political gladiators need to exercise absolute restraint so as not to draw police into the center of their controversies. And the moment we avoid, restraint, it will not all go well for everybody concerned. Certainly, what you are seeing is not the first in our country. I've given you an example of the era of the early 60s, or between 60 to 65. It's still a study in security management. It's still a study of the symbiosis of political aggression and security management. It's still a study of preservation of national security vis-a-vis personal interest. But the bottom line of it all is that we need to have restraint on the part of the political leadership. And not only political leadership, even on the police leadership. We would not be comfortable for police to become a whipping boy of political drama. It has happened before, but it's not to the best interest of our country. But we have been studying it at the police level, and we have been applying experience and professionalism get along the way. But as I can say in this respect, it's still work in progress. And I believe that we're going to come out of this better, stronger, and we'll learn our lessons. When I mean our lessons, I mean all of us. It's an all society approach, not only the police approach alone, all society, the political class, the police class, the ordinary class, and even the media class. Because we need to do much more than we're doing for us to have a better Nigeria in terms of security management vis-a-vis political interest.
Well, the elections went ahead and they held. We understand that the police eventually, the new CP that was sent to the state eventually unsealed the local government of, let's say, the River State Independent Electoral Commission, RISIEC, and the elections held as planned. We heard the governor yesterday when he was swearing in local government chairman, thanking the president. It's unclear what role the president played, but I imagine that perhaps the president, whatever role the president played, might have been through the police. So do you want to tell us, I know you say you're not in the system, but I certainly know that, you're not within the system officially. It doesn't mean that you didn't also follow, because you said that the governor could have engaged more strategically. Do you think that there were some backroom discussions that now eventually yielded fruit?
Certainly. You discover that the outbursts started coming down in hours or moments that followed. And I think it's an evidence that a lot of behind-the-back communication and consultation must have taken place. And the fact, too, is that in all things that happen in our national life, the president is the father of the country. He's not only just the political leader of the country, he's the father of the country. So all matters that occurs and the ones they are taken care of, certainly, if all our life, apart from God Almighty, the next authority that takes care of our life is the president of our country. So if every problem is solved, well, certainly, we must always be appreciative of the presence and the role of the president. It's not only this one, any matter. Once you are able to get issues resolved, certainly, we must always give thanks to our president and God Almighty. So I believe that giving thanks to the president is essential in all circumstances, not even only this one, because he's the father of the nation, politics aside.
But Mr. Yaro, does it then mean, having seen the way the elections went in Rivers, many are now saying, wait a minute. So that means when we hear the police say we're going to deploy 5,000 for Edo elections, 4,000 for bias and things like that. So with this one, we don't actually need all these 5,000, 4,000 that they've been deploying all the while.
31,000.
For next elections, or even 31,000?
Yeah, 31,000, 34,000.
Sometimes 31, 34,000. So we don't need all those thousands anymore, Mr. Yaro, do we?
Very much. Like I disclosed at a certain forum before now, we must take cognizance of one thing. If not that we Nigerians, we have a different perception about election management. Ideally, election is supposed to be a normal democratic exercise that does not require police or military enhancement, so to speak. There are many countries in Africa that are almost our size in terms of population and landmass. For example, the second most populous country in Africa, apart from Nigeria, Ethiopia, anytime they are doing election, you don't see police and military build-up as we do in our country. The third most populous country in Africa is Egypt. Anytime they conduct election, you don't see police build-up as ours. It calls for some level of deep concern. And it really makes us to be at the butt of jokes of other countries. We need to de-emphasize that. And de-emphasizing that is a function on how we, the ordinary people and the political class, perceives election. The moment we begin to hype up election, we begin to create imaginary and real violent scenario. Then the massive police and military bureau for election will automatically result. That is not healthy for our country, and it's not healthy for our democracy. Apart from we who are the underdeveloped countries, the developed countries, any day they are doing election, you don't see people in uniform carrying rifle here and there. So we need to actually do a kind of introspection. We, the Nigerians, we, the political actors. Why is it that we deploy police platforms, resources, manpower solely for election? And this is a phenomenon that others always accomplish without much ado. It therefore means that we Nigerians, we must, as a matter of fact, do some introspection. Are we on the right way? Are we doing it like others? Even then, what we are doing, is that what was bequeathed to us by our forefathers? Even the less developed countries around us, is that how they conduct election? So the point has to be made. We don't really need to deploy and bring a lot of police resources and platforms for election. If only we, the people of Nigeria and the political actors, operate with the mindset of sanity. And we need to, in order to give credence to our practice of democracy, militarizing election or making it to be a police operational scene, it is really unnecessary. And I think this dimension is being created by the political class, who most of the time come to election with objectives that are different from noble. We need to do further research into that area.
Just before we go, do you think this scenario damages the call for state police?
Well, of course, at this forum last year, I said it, that the creation of state police will be the beginning of our Armageddon in our country. That will be the journey to complete lawlessness. And the reason they talk for this is because the political class mindsets about election, control of the coercive internal security mechanism, their mindset about it is less than noble. That is the issue. I said it before. The police system we have on the ground is functional and relevant. But because a good number of the political actors want a circumvented arena.
So what if we say, if we are to create that, only federal police will be involved in elections? How about that?
Look, it is even possible. Why not we create election environment without police?
Yeah, it's a gradual step, isn't it?
It's possible. Other countries run election without police. Have you ever seen British police following election materials? You are a journalist, you see it around, you know more. You can do a cross analysis. Have you seen British police or American police following election materials? Why are we like this? Why can't we change? We need to de-emphasize the use of police.
Yeah, but shouldn't the police also begin from looking inwards? The way they might handle people on the road, the normal stop and check, and you know.
Not we, the political class that is making the election to be a kind of a mini warfare. Election is supposed to be like a normal day. You cast your vote, you go for your normal business, results are released. And police continue to do their normal within the parameter of the constitutional expectation, which is patrolling, monitoring citizens, doing stop and search. And if there's an infringement of processes and events, they draw their attention to it. We need to review what we have been doing.
All right, we have to thank you for talking to us this morning. Mr. Abutu Yaro is a former Assistant Inspector General of Police.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, let's see, do we have any messages?
Yes, I see a few.
Okay, so Unfortunately, I don't think they're ready yet, but we'll see them. But I guess we'll find time to also take them. Festus and Prof. Anina, we thank you as always for your messages. Well, that is the show today. We thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Usof. Goodbye.
Well, we know that the situation in Rivers is still a developing one in spite of the fact that local government chairmen have been sworn in. Our correspondents on the ground there keeping tabs on the situation, and we certainly will be keeping you updated. So do stay with us on the news and also with Politics at Noon. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Malcolm Yusuf.